Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Whoop whoop. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. We've got a juicy one for you today. I have a top podcaster and dear friend of mine, mother of 5, wife, sister, aunt, blonde delight from the OC. Yes, it's Kate Casey. With Reality Life with Kate Casey is my guest. Girl, thanks for driving out.
Hey, happy to be here.
Dropped off that one kid and came straight
down the highway.
Yeah.
Straight down the highway. Happy to be here.
Thank you. We've been friends for so long, and I'm trying to remember how you had a hilarious blog that you would write recaps of Real Housewives episodes, like a cliff note, but of a Shakespearean play.
Yes, and I would add stuff to it that didn't happen.
And I just thought it was so funny, and somehow you wrote me or I saw it, and I was like, this is hilarious. And then we started talking.
Yeah.
And
I came to your show.
Okay.
You had a show in the OC.
Okay, great.
And then I came down and then we just kind of started talking. And then I went to Juicy Scoop. You had me on to talk about housewives.
Yes.
And then I was talking to you about what do I do beyond this blog?
Yeah, you're like, how do I get more people to read this blog? And I'm like, why don't you just do your blog, but as a podcast?
Yeah.
Because that's where it's at. And I think people are lazy and they're not into reading anymore.
That was true. And that was like 7, 8 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Long time.
Unwrap the first of many presents this season's with holidays on the house from DraftKings Casino. With hundreds of games, prizes, and promos, DraftKings Casino has everything on your list. Right now, new players who play $5 get $100 instantly in casino credits. What are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Casino app now and sign up with promo code JUICYSCOOP and play $5 to get $100 in casino credits. That's promo code JUICYSCOOPs only at DraftKings Casino. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 and over, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. 1 per opted in new customer. $5 wager required. Max $100 in casino credit awarded, which requires one-time playthrough within 7 days. Terms at casino.draftkings.com/holidays. On the house. Restrictions apply. We are good friends. We are talk on the phone friends. And I thoroughly enjoy you, and thank you for coming out because we have a lot to discuss. But first, I need to tell you, since you're a housewife person, and reality TV people, with Reality Life,
right up my alley.
I went to Variety's Women of Reality TV event. It was this past Wednesday, and it was at Spago, and it was really, really fun.
I like Spago.
It was really nice. So they had all the tables, and then the front, they had 3 different panels. And there was some juicy stuff that came out with the panel. But first, as I was walking into the dining room, my heart skipped a beat because I saw Christine from Sister Wives.
In my opinion, she's the most powerful woman in reality television right now.
I agree.
I really do.
I said, I have been writing you, and I know people sometimes don't see DMs or whatever, but I'm like, I would die to have you on Juicy Scoop. And she said, oh, are you the Heather from Juicy Scoop? My husband has said that. So the husband is up on it, and we want to get her here. I mean, I would go. I think I'd like.
Don't you think she wants to leave Utah? Just tell her
she can come to
SoCal.
Here. Yeah.
We'll get you a bus, and we'll just take you on a tour of all the sites. She seems like she'd be fun.
She's real fun.
Bar hop.
And I go, my mouth has been dropping during this last reunion of talking about Sister Wives. And unbelievable. And I just saw a clip of something else where now Mary is talking. Mary's wife number 1.
Yes.
And she's not happy with Christine.
No.
She said it's Christine. She's like, I really didn't want her to tell the story, but basically it seems like a lot is being cracked open about once they went public, aka got the reality show, what was hidden and what was acted. And it sounds like Cody acted for many years like he actually was still in love with Mary and was still into a relationship with Mary, when now we know that never was the case, because even before the show started to air, he melted it down the wedding ring that he exchanged and received from Mary at their actual wedding, since she was the only person he was really married to.
Yeah, no, he completely fabricated his feelings about her for the sake of the show. I think
for 14 years now, or whatever, how many years it's been.
I think he probably is at heart a monogamist and always has been that way, but he saw the opportunity to maybe not work in some office and could get a TV show so he didn't have to work, because it seems like all he does is drive from one house to the other. He never has a job.
In that convertible, that Lexus white convertible. Yeah.
All the other women worked, and he just kind of like went from house to house.
Nobody really knows what his other, I don't think, you're right. I think his job was the reality show. Internet marketing.
Yeah.
And also something with like gun shows and stuff, I heard.
Yeah, I think he did gun sales for a little bit, but I don't know if he still does that. He doesn't strike me as somebody who works very hard. I have also reason to believe that he and his wife, Robin, the one he pretty much lives with, I think they're perpetual spenders and hoarders.
Totally.
Because you never see anything filmed in their home.
Right.
It must be just stacked with boxes.
The few times they've shown things, people like sleuths have like pointed out, like, there's a new picture, like there's a tiny part on the wall that's bare, and then she gets something to fill it. Like, she's definitely, and I think the adult kids have related to that. So very happy to see that Christine is out and gone.
Me too.
And the show is going to continue, which it will be interesting to see now the true aftermath, now that like all the lies are, nobody's pretending anymore. And let's see what happens. And they'll, I guess, just be filming at several different locations.
And by locations, you mean fire pits outside. That's the only place that they film. I think the really interesting part is the way the kids, how they communicate. Because Robin's daughters, who seem like zombies, they go to the same school as some of the other kids, but the mothers don't speak to each other.
And when Robin, it's so weird too, because in seeing the adult kids now be on the couch with all of them, they look and act so much like both the parents. Some of them look very much like Cody. Some of them look exactly like Janelle. Like, and Christine's daughters too sometimes have the same cadence of the voice.
Yes.
And so that's kind of like, as people that have watched reality TV for a long time, we're like, wow, this is truly a second generation, which is really kind of bizarre to watch. And like, and the Robin daughters are the same fake criers, no offense. But like,
fake criers.
She's like, I wanted to sit on the porch with my sister wife.
Yeah.
How could this have happened? Why can't Mary stay? Even though I never see her, I don't let her around my kids. But Cody and her should try to work it out.
Now, do you think actually that she gives a shit about living a polygamous life in terms of
which one, Robin?
Like having all these sister wives, or do you think she just married him because she wanted to get away from the ex and this was an opportunity to be a TV star?
I think it was all of it.
Yeah.
I think she did like him. I think they had sexual chemistry.
Yeah.
I think she was like, I don't care if he sleeps with these other women, because she kind of knew.
They're probably not.
And I'm the newest and the cutest.
Yeah.
And he probably told her too, I really don't sleep with Mary or Christine. And I think he always screwed Janelle because he said I was a boy toy to her. So I think they had like a little freaky deaky, like friends benefits kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I just think she really didn't care, about that. And she was smart enough to know that, like, I'm younger, so I'm going to have kids past when they are, and I'm going to be the queen anyway. But I really think she liked having the nights alone with him not being there. She liked to watch what she wanted in TV.
Yeah.
She was financially taken care of. Those other women were working.
Order stuff online.
Yeah. She did not want him around all the time. And also, this is what her plan really was to be sitting on the porch, having all these people, this show to go forever, her to be queen bee. So, I think she is really bummed about it.
Yeah. But
I also feel she knows that if he's gotten rid of all these women, there's going to be a time where he might tire of her too. Or plot twist, I think 3 years from now, prediction, it just came.
What? There's going to be another woman.
No, she leaves him.
She may leave him if the money dries up, because I think she likes spending money more than she likes him.
Yes.
But I also think he loves being a TV star more than he loves her. So if he thinks the show can only continue to exist if he finds another wife, he will find one.
And she might, and she'll say, I'm okay with that too. I don't think she'll really be jealous about it. I think she'll be like, good, maybe. I don't want to, I'm tired of screwing you. She's getting closer to 50. It on a lot? I do, but I don't even think she's into it.
Right.
I think it's like my wifely duty.
Right.
Anyway, dying to get her on the show. Then I saw Rachel Lindsay, former Bachelorette, turn reporter and now podcaster of Higher Learning. So she was part of being honored for people that have gone on to have podcasts that do well. And Kariana Naba was there.
Oh, yeah.
Of Dancing with the Stars. And she said a really interesting thing on the panel.
Okay.
She said, I feel, and she got emotional talking about it. I get a lot more criticism for my opinion of the dancers of Dancing with the Star from fans who are mostly female fans.
Welcome to our world, Carrie.
Than the men.
Welcome to our world, friend.
Yeah.
Let's start a gang. Yep.
Yeah. Why my opinion is more scrutinized than when the men say you didn't dip far enough or whatever. And I went to her and I said, I'm so glad you said that. It's so true.
Yeah.
And I don't know why women are like that about other women. I don't know why they don't see the need to want to support each other more yet when it's a man.
When you would think the reaction would be, it's a sisterhood,
right?
And we can. It's something like if somebody comes against your family, it's like I can say that about my own family, but you can't.
Right.
That should be the theory about any sort of criticism or review of a show or of a dancer is like only I can do it, but somehow men are able to give their opinions and without anyone being upset.
Right.
It's a strange vortex that we live in.
Right. And so many men have entered the realm of talking about housewives and all of that, which they have every right to do. And lots, they have fun, different opinions or whatever. But, I think what makes it interesting when you and I talk about it is because the reason I've always been attracted to it is because we are women. We can relate to not, having a problem with a sister-in-law, a wedding situation, inviting this person or not, your kids doing this, you're fighting with your husband, like all of that we lived through.
Managing marriages, children, postpartum, all these little nuances that we have a unique view into. You would think that our opinions would be valued, but sometimes they're not. And it's maddening.
Yeah.
It's maddening.
Yes.
So I get it, Kariana Naba.
So she was great on the panel. So this was like one of the panels zoomed in here. And JWoww was on, and I thought she said a great thing.
Okay.
So one of the questions that the moderator asked was like, you give so much of your life, and it was a lot about that, and a lot of the women up there were kind of saying like, yes, this part is really hard, and when you realize you can't hide something, but then the benefit is that by putting it out there, you can benefit so many people that are watching at home.
True.
And so with JWoww, her son has autism.
Oh, okay.
And so she was like, I knew as he was a nonverbal 2-year-old, as he got into being later 2, and the cameras were back in the house, I knew that moms would start to notice and question. And I didn't want to be that mom that was like, that the camera made it look like I was in denial about my son's prognosis. And I wanted to show what early diagnosis can do and help in all of that. And I think from what I recall is that was part of, which is a common thing with mothers and their husbands when they don't agree with the diagnosis of a child.
The treatment plan.
I don't know if that's what broke up her marriage, but I kind of remember that might have been a strong part of it. So she's like, so then my divorce was on there and everything. So I thought she came off great into how many people she's helped with that, which is so important.
Really important.
Yeah, so she was great. Kandi was great. Kandi from Atlanta. One thing that she said was, I was like, what was the worst moment? And she's like, when we were when I was accused with my husband
Of
on
drugging.
the show of drugging a woman, a cast member, and with the hopes to take sexual advantage of her.
Mhm.
And I'm like, and
How do you ever
Peter's-
get past that?
you
You
can't.
can't.
I mean, I remember, that's where she goes, the lies, that's a
Yeah.
famous moment. And like, Peter's sitting there with me and he's like, what? And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah. And so I went up to her after and I'm like, I'm really glad that you don't just brush over that. Bring it up
Uh-huh.
for the rest of your life. Because as someone that has had lies and shit told about me publicly, and till the day I die, there's going to be one person in my comments that are like, I don't believe you, or this or that. It's happened to me
Yeah.
a few times. Nothing as bad as this, but bad, calling me a thief and everything. And even though I proved it without a doubt, it's like,
Yeah.
you still want to shout it from the rooftops because you're like, it didn't happen.
Mhm.
And I don't want anyone to like watch an old episode and then not watch the follow-up episodes and think that.
Yeah.
And so she was great. And and then I talked to her after and I go, I can't believe Drew didn't come to BravoCon.
Not good.
And she's like, yeah, especially because there's all this talk of them replacing people and whatnot. And I said,
You better show up.
how would you feel about Kim Zolciak coming back? Because
Yeah.
I want to see what's going on in her life. They get back together. They're breaking up.
Mhm.
She's a gambler. She's not, she's a gambler, but then he doesn't make money and they hate each other. They love each other. She's doing
Yeah.
fake clickbait about her daughter being pregnant when she's not. And, because she's desperate for money and she's selling her, old shoes, whatever. I'm like, get
Yeah.
the cameras. Why give that to anybody else but Bravo? And she was like, tell them.
I feel like they will bring her back.
I mean,
Because
if
I think
they
that
brought her back.
The Bravo audience really likes nostalgia. And I
Yeah.
think they love to circle. That's the great thing about reality shows. If you watch a scripted show, This Is Us. That
Yeah.
character in that period of time is suspended there.
Right.
But with reality shows, we can keep following all of their lives years and years after. The Keogh kids
Yeah.
from Orange County, or Kim Zolciak's family. And this is just another chapter that I think is wildly fascinating. Why would they not want to cover it? Also, because it's not her own show anymore, she doesn't have as much control. And I think you're going to have a much more authentic story.
For Kim, you mean, because it's
Yes.
not the don't be tardy for the party.
Yeah.
I find Kim fascinating and I would totally love to see this, whatever it is, whether she becomes really raw, whether she's in denial, whether she changes over the course of, but 100%. And what I love about Kandi is that through all these franchises and BravoCons and everything, two women love each other and they hate each other and they say things like, if that person's filming, then I won't be in the same room and I don't want them back and da-da-da. And Candy's like, with a Kandi face, I don't care. Like, no, she doesn't really care. Like she'll get in there and call you out, but she's smart enough and she's so above it that it doesn't matter who they put on that cast with her. She will engage, be authentic, and always, in my opinion, always be worldwide on top Kandi.
I think that's why production loves her, is because she had a career that preceded this.
Right.
And I think that's probably the frustration on the production end. I interview a lot of producers.
Yeah.
And it is frustrating when you work with somebody who's sort of curated their own persona.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to be a reality star, and they are, as I always say, plucked from obscurity, right?
So are you saying that the reality show producers prefer a Kandi?
They prefer a Kandi.
They prefer a Kandi. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Because they're going to show up on time. They understand it's for the sake of the show. They're a team player versus someone sometimes who's plucked from obscurity, who doesn't have some sort of professional background. And then they get too caught up in the tunnel of what what the audience thinks.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a Kandi working on my show.
Oh, yeah. As long as Kandi will do it, they should never get rid of Kandi for all these reasons, because she's too good for the show.
Yeah.
But I don't want her to ever leave, and I think she should continue on. I mean, if she made it past this lie and proved, I don't think people will ever fuck with her again, because she proved it, and and have fun with her, enjoy her. She can be a great friend to you, but you want to. If you piss her off, though, you're gonna get the Kandi, So you're the. Let me see who else. And then, of course, Kyle was there. And Kyle was really authentic, too, and talking about how I've been through a lot on the show. I've, had issues with my sisters and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And then this thing with my husband, I knew I wasn't going to try to like hide it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I totally believe that. I don't think, I think when people say, does she use things for storylines? No, I think someone like her, if you are going to sign up for this, and this is why this discussion was really so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to sign up for it, you can't hide it. And she said that. She goes, you can't hide it because not only are there receipts, but the receipts are on film from episodes that have aired.
Right.
So she's like, so when Sutton was being like, name them, Kyle in her head was seeing the actual stories that she's viewed back watching the show in which she did all those things. And just on this last episode, Kyle, Kyle has her beautiful dinner party and her pot dinner party or whatever you want to call it. And you watch the episode, right? And then they have another discussion, she and Sutton, after the name scene. And she's like, well, I was upset, Kyle, because, my ex-husband, Christian, he just got a huge promotion. And he is going to move to London. And he wanted to bring my son. And, but my son doesn't want to go. And Kyle, in my opinion, is like smart enough to know that if your kid is over 13, it's kind of up to the kid. If the kid wants to live in London, it's going to be hurtful for you. But it sounded like the kid didn't. So quickly, she says the kid's not going, which is the saddest part of the story if that was the case. The kid's not going. And she goes, okay. So then Kyle's like, so I get that you're upset, but you had a happy ending, right? He's not going. And then she's like, but, now I have to get more child support. And we already know that you get $300,000 tax-free dollars a month.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, I have to get more because now technically I have him more percentage of the time.
Yeah.
And it's just a problem, to have to go to, deal with him legally. She's not going to have to go to court. It's going to be one call.
One call to the
One
attorneys.
call to up it to $375
I know,
a month.
but that's why we like that show because it's completely unrelatable. I mean, listen, reality shows, you and I love them because it's a study in human behavior.
Yes.
And we're studying the behavior of people who have completely lost sense of reality because they have such a privileged life.
Right. Whether they share a husband with 3 people.
Totally.
And I believe are the least paid reality stars in the history of reality.
You always have such a good point about that too. Like they have been on the show for
17
years and
seasons.
years.
17 seasons, Sister Wives.
They didn't get like a different haircut. They didn't get veneers. They didn't do any of the things that we are now expect of reality stars.
Right.
Maybe they're the ones that keep it real more than anybody.
Well, I mean, I said that. I go, I think, like we just see like very, the average home, a bunch of shit stacked up in the corner. Not even a hoarder's house. Just, I didn't get to the mail this week. Like just very real, not,
Let me ask you this. Are you such a dork like I am that when Christine broke up with Cody and they were filming in that little room,
Sister Wives,
did you look at all the books on the bookshelves?
No, did you zoom in?
Oh, yeah.
Let me guess what they were. Let me guess what they were.
All right.
I think they were a lot of inspirational, like God speaks in whispers, kind of stuff like that. Okay, what was it?
Yeah, like toilet books, like, inspiration things that, like keep it going, girl. That Cheryl author that Reese Witherspoon always makes for movies, like that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right, good. Mm-hmm. Okay, getting back to Beverly Hills. So then what I loved is that Kyle, and I didn't even think about that, but Kyle brings up, well, you've kind of done it a lot, Sutton. You were upset and saying that we should be sympathetic to you because you had to sell your one house in Bel Air and buy another house in Bel Air.
Right.
And then the other one was, God, there was another one that she brought up about it just being an extra. Oh, that the day after Dorit's burglary, you were saying that your Paris designer who designs the berets or whatever couldn't get him into the country, and so that you were going a lot. That like it's always about you, and that you are very disconnected from not just rich people, but like anybody, like even rich people, so extremely rich people.
She's not empathetic.
You're right. And she has no clue. But that also makes for a great housewife. And I'm thoroughly enjoying the weirdness of Sutton.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Like we need her, protect her at all costs.
Everybody thinks about a dream vacation. I want to get away. Where am I going to go? Skiing, the beach. I don't know. Well, don't miss your chance to get away this season. And I'm talking about filling your sleigh with gifts from OUAI. You know how much I love OUAI's best-selling hair and body products, and they're the best gifts for yourself and everyone on your list. I've talked about their fast fix for healthy hair, and that is the hair oil. I really feel this is for everyone. It is a multitasking oil. It smooths the frizz. It seals my split ends. It gives me high gloss and a smooth finish, which I love. Also, for those on the naughty list, you want to try that leave-in conditioner. That is really great for all hair types. Also, I love their detox shampoo. I really love doing this because this is what cleans the built-up product. I use, a lot of thickeners, and I use dry shampoo, and I use a bunch of stuff like that. And I really feel like I love to get that deep clean, and that detox shampoo from OUAI really does it. Don't miss your chance to get away this holiday season. Go to theouai.com. That's THEOUAI.com for 15% off site-wide when you enter promo code JUICY. That's THEOUAI.com for 15% off with the code JUICY. Unwrap the first of many presents this season with Holidays on the House from DraftKings Casino. With hundreds of games, prizes, and promos, DraftKings Casino has everything on your list. Right now, new players who play $5 get $100 instantly in casino credits. What are you waiting for? Cozy up with all the classics like slots, blackjack, and roulette, or play exclusive games you'll only find at DraftKings Casino to feel the holiday cheer all season long. Download the DraftKings Casino app now and sign up with the promo code JuicyScoop and play $5 to get $100 in casino credits. That's promo code JuicyScoop only at DraftKings Casino. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsible. 21 and above, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. One per opted in new customer. $5 wager required. Max 100 in casino credit awarded, which requires one-time playthrough within 7 days. Terms at casino.draftkings.com/holiday. On the house, restrictions apply. And speaking of Beverly Hills, we'll go back to Beverly Hills. Okay, so let me just finish this variety. So that was really fun. So that I loved that. And then Teresa was there, and Heather Gay, who I talked to, but they were not on a panel. So they're taking lots of photos. Here I am with Heather Gay. She told me that she wasn't happy with the way I covered the black guy.
Which guy?
Her black eye. Her black eye, not black guy. You're like, what juicy part of Housewives?
I was like, what part did I miss?
No, the black
she didn't like, but why?
Honestly, I cover so much. I don't remember. But even when I'm friends with the people,
yeah.
If I'm watching the show,
you're watching the show,
and I know that it's edited and everything, and I do feel bad because I've gone to Beauty Lab, we've hung out one night, we've talked about our kids getting married and being grandma Heathers together. So I do thoroughly like her, and I love her on the show.
Yeah.
But if I said something in which I was annoyed with, I know about the black eye, and I've said also that I don't know if she was, pleasing production by not sharing what she should be sharing, protecting anybody else, protecting herself, protecting Jen Shaw. I don't know, but we were all frustrated with it.
We were all frustrated.
But she hinted that we will find out more soon.
Oh, good.
About the black eye.
Finally.
And very juicy with her and Monica and suing the Beauty Lab. That's the new girl on Salt Lake, who I've explained has the weird relationship with the mom.
Yes.
But
I feel like those two, they are desperate to be on the show. The mother and the daughter. They have
Do you think they're
dreams of being
point?
TV stars.
Well, one of the things is when, she can take her Range Rover away whenever she wants.
Right.
The mother. And I did feel like this scene was very scripted, that they're in the front room, the car drives up.
Yeah.
It's the mom. She comes out. They have bad acting, mean words.
Yep.
And I literally feel like when the mom is like screaming at her, she's like, I fucking the camera. Yeah.
Okay.
And so then she's like, no, Mom, I'm not driving you home or getting an Uber. And then the mom just walks off with a bike pack on her back down the street. And it just a lot of people are like, no way does production do that. They never leave you stranded down a street.
No.
You know, there's a car
when she
waiting.
Said, when I was 12 years old, she dropped me off with a strange family in Pennsylvania because she wanted to pursue her dream.
Yes.
I need to know what the dream is. Because if she wanted to be a real estate agent, that's very different than she wanted to be a rock cat.
I mean, that's what I said. I don't think she got a job selling IBM computers.
No.
I think it was either a man, some romance that she thought, I want to live a New York lifestyle, and then the guy dumped her, and then she realized she couldn't afford to live there. Or it was some type of what she thought would lead to a glamorous acting something.
I think so.
And I would love for Monica to reveal that on the reunion. Mm-hmm. Tell us.
Yeah, why? Why not? Tell us.
That's juicy.
But it's also going to say a lot about who you are and who your mother is and why you're on the show. Somebody wrote me and said that they worked together at a company.
Who? She and Monica?
Monica was like, I think, like right out of college or something, like lower level position. But she made it very clear, my dream is to be famous.
All right.
So,
well, you got it.
Go. She did. Yeah,
she secreted it. She manifested
it.
Here is Paige, just the cutest.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous. And she was on the panel about, successful podcasters who come from reality TV.
Yes.
And one of the questions they asked her was, or they asked the panel and she joined in, what is it like when you make true friendships on the show? You're both on the show and one of you doesn't get asked back, but you continue on the show. Is it hard to continue the friendship when your friend is no longer a housewife or whatever?
Yeah.
And of course, she's very good friends with Hannah and they have a popular podcast together, the Giggling Squad. And so she's like, well, in my case, it was the best thing that could ever happen for my co-host is that Hannah wasn't asked back to Summer House, because then she, when she's like, I always say firing or whatever is the best, because then you don't have the comfort of going, well, I could work harder, but I know come June 1st, I'm going to spend 3 months drinking and being an asshole in a Summer House, And then Hannah, is a huge touring stand-up now, and then they have this popular podcast. So I thought that was great.
That's an anomaly.
Probably, yes.
I don't think that really happens a lot. And
it doesn't happen much.
That was a good question to ask.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the housewives, once they are let go, I think they really have this epiphany where they realize they've become addicted to fame.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's easy for somebody to be around someone else that's still on a show when you're struggling in that space. Like,
right.
How do I identify myself now? Like, we always say like somebody erases their Real Housewives of blah, blah, blah from their bio. That must be like putting shackles on.
Yeah.
Like, who am I in the world now?
Yeah. I guess Bethany Frankel recently said on her show or whatever, she said, the two people that will never be asked back are myself and Carol now. Because we have like stood up to Andy. And I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if she's trying to get Carol to come on her show.
Of course.
That would be a good one.
That is the interview that people want to see those two talk again.
Yes.
I think even more than Jill.
Oh, yeah.
I think people really love the dynamic between Carol
but Carol
and Bethany.
Will not hold back and will not be there to try to get chummy with her. She will be like, what the fuck, Bethany? You were acting like that you were overly hurt by me when nothing had happened that summer and you were like blindsided me. And I don't know what the fuck was your motivation, girl? And if Bethany is like,
she should do it. She should do that.
And if Bethany is like, all right, I'll tell you what it was.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Like that would be, and it's not about you getting a new haircut or getting Beyonce's former stylist. It had nothing to do with that. Like what was the demise of that? And I think when you have an ex-best friend, whether it's on a reality show or in real life, you kind of want to be like, what was your moment that you snapped and was like,
we're done.
And I'm taking her down in front of the cameras.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? Even for like someone who's, pretty diabolical, for Bethany as far as being a real housewife.
Don't you want to see that interview?
So speaking of new podcasts, Rachel's podcast is coming.
I saw.
Yeah.
I told you, I don't think she should be doing anything for at least 8 months.
Well, we'll see what happens. Obviously, the way she's got to, what I said, tell the story of like every moment and when she almost got caught. if she does it at the top of her show
Mm-hmm.
and spreads it over a few episodes, then that's going to be great. But then will she be able to keep people coming back every week once she shared her story? Or does she just, I believe my prediction is that she'll just start out with, interviewing people that are fitness experts and, emotional healers and, and then when that dries out, then she will start talking about Then iHeart will be like, you have to talk about Vanderpump Rules. I think she will.
I think a lot struggle with that because they start shows and they really don't want to talk about the thing that actually made them famous.
Right.
And then they get so much pressure to actually talk about it that I could see where it would be very frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Kandi. Here's Louis and Teresa, and I photobombed their photo here. And they really are like so fun, and I think he like loves his life being married to Teresa. They are
I'm sure he does.
They pose, they take photos, they look great, they go to all the things. And he's like always like a nice, happy guy. So there you go. Let's talk about The Golden Bachelor.
Oh my God, I'm so fired up about it.
Why don't you fill people in? You can explain what is going on. We now know that the Golden Bachelor, we know now, is gotten with Teresa. It was down to 2 women, her and this other girl. Do you remember the other woman's
Leslie.
name? Leslie, who was more of a hipper woman. She, I don't believe she's ever been married or she was divorced, had several relationships in her lifetime, unlike Teresa, who, much like Gerry, had a similar, married the high school sweetheart, was a widow. He's 72, she's 70. I think Leslie was more like
64, maybe,
but like acted and had a younger persona about her for sure.
Yeah,
and
super hot.
Yeah, and fun. And so I did not watch like the final episodes and stuff. Did you?
Yes. Okay.
So please tell us.
So what you need to know is this. When he was packaged, they made it seem like this guy was laying in a fetal position since his wife died, has not been on one date, and that also he is this extremely successful restaurateur, and he has
who
this
has a lake house. Yes,
and it's positioned like the woman that comes into his life. It's here's the key, extra key. You're going to move into this lake house, and we're going to set our dreams on fire.
Yes.
Well, 2 days before the finale, Hollywood Reporter puts this great article out. I love an expose. I live for them. Okay,
yes.
So this woman, Carolyn, has come forward. Carolyn in air quotes because she wants to go through another name because lunatics like myself are going to find her. I want to interview her.
Okay.
So she says she was actually in a 2.5-year relationship with him, which is like, wait, what? Also, that he's not this like restaurateur. He had some hamburger not a franchise, but like a hamburger business or something. But he sold it in 1985.
Yes, I saw that.
And he's been working essentially like as a handyman, which by the way is totally fine. It's just, why was he painted as something completely different? Like just let the guy be who he is.
Because he said when it came out that, so they met at a mental health facility in which she was the maintenance man and she worked there.
Yes.
And they met and started dating 2 months after the wife passed.
2 months. Yeah.
And the maintenance thing is, if people are like, wait, because we're all thinking about that first episode where he's looking out at the lake and everything. And so he has responded and said, yes, I did that because I was already retired. And that's something I enjoy doing, which is a very noble profession. And you're out and you're doing things, and it does not mean anything wrong.
No
with
one
it.
disagrees with that. But it was presented a different way.
Well, I think the Bachelor people could say, Golden Bachelor, well, we just didn't include that part because, but you should have, because it's his day-to-day life.
That's his story.
Yeah.
That's who he is. Okay, the other thing that came out in the article, because this one you're going to love, especially because you talk about Peter being cheap all the time.
Yes.
So apparently Gerry, and by the way, his name is spelled Gerry, which is enough to drive you crazy. But his name's Gary. So it looks like Gerry, but it's pronounced Gary.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Wait, everyone calls him Gary?
Everybody.
That you're right. And why is it spelled like that?
I don't know.
I'm
It's
looking at it right now.
enough to drive you insane. Okay. So when Gary was with Carolyn,
the girl from the
2.5 years, that he met. Okay. He wanted her to go half season all the bills.
Yes.
Fine. But here's the weirdest story. When they would go out to eat, she would have to give him money ahead of time so that when the bill came, he would feel good about looking like he's paying the whole bill.
See, I don't think this is him being cheap. I think it's him not having a lot of money. I really don't think he has that much money.
Well, probably, but that's still weird.
It's horrible.
Give me the money ahead of time so that I can look like the hero and I'm paying. That's appalling.
Controlling.
And weird.
And, okay, so that comes out. Also, when she moved in with him, she said he wanted her to give him $1,000 a month for living expenses, but she managed to get him down to $850.
Right.
And then, of course, the thing that really upsets us ladies is that in October of 2019, and she was ready to join him, Gerry, at his high school reunion. And he said, according to her, I'm not taking you to the reunion looking like that.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn, who said that she'd put on 10 pounds at the time due to stress, probably because she had to gather up the money before going to dinner, recalled Turner allegedly saying, referring to her body, that's when they call it, that's when they called it quits.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And so then, let me see. He said, I retired at 55, but I was very happy to giving back. So that's why he started doing this other job. Anyway, obviously, Rolling Stone had this woman and this interview way before the show
and
ever
they waited
aired.
until 2 days before.
And they waited for 2 days before, and then he and Teresa, and he's like, I just am happy with Teresa. And one of the things he said about Teresa that's also pissing off people is he said, I feel like she's the one that could make a relationship last, which was kind of a diss to the Leslie who's had other long-term relationships in her 64 years and not just one person who died.
Okay. Also, he said in an interview that he knew it was meant to be with Teresa because she had mentioned that she has a son that lives near Charleston, South Carolina, and he's always had this dream of moving there. So it would like sync up with his life plans, and also she still works. He only asked her way late into the game. Like it came up in conversation on one of their dates, like that she works and has this career. And it was very much like, oh yeah, like tell me about your career. I'm like, that is not something you ask like date 2. Like,
okay, but here's the thing. We all know we're only seeing certain things. So he could have gotten everybody's financials, on the dates, and the Bachelor could have chosen not to show it because it would turn us off. It is my opinion now.
I don't know.
That in every time he met a woman, no, but I'm saying I think he asked and got the info.
No, I know.
So, and I know
what you're
saying. We didn't see it. I think that was part of him choosing people.
I think he's like very selfish.
Okay.
And I think he likes her because he wants the Charleston house. So this whole story about living in the lake house is a moot point because they're moving to Charleston, South Carolina.
Do you remember that one Bachelor way back?
Jason Mesnick.
Yeah, he had the supposed lake or boathouse thing.
Yeah, no, Melissa Rycroft, she went to the boathouse, and then she told me later, she's like, I'm looking around the place, and there's not one picture in a frame of him. It was like a rented house. It wasn't
like
his.
A staged house.
Yeah, and then it came out later that they completely embellished his job too. I went cold turkey for a couple seasons because of that. I was so mad.
He dumped her on the air to go for.
And then he went for Molly,
and they are still together.
And
now.
They have a daughter. Yeah, they're totally happy.
Yeah. Well, some of that is the show telling you to do this. Don't mention your maintenance job. Whatever. So we can't be completely mad at Gerry.
Of course, we can be mad because we invest all our time into the show.
But welcome to being a famous dude. It sucks. Yeah. Good luck to you and Teresa.
They're getting a TV wedding, so they're going to do just fine.
You think people still want this TV wedding? You don't think people care about this that much?
Yeah, they care. 13 million people, I think, watch the finale.
All right, then they'll have their thing.
Wedding. Yeah.
But I wonder now, will they show him, this is what they're going to do. They're going to do like, what's been happening before the wedding? And they're going to show him going to the mental health facility and then very much making it very clear, we have loved that you have come and helped us in this and that.
Yeah.
But if he's getting a salary, that's not helping out and volunteering. And I believe it was a salary. He was not volunteering to work there.
No.
He was a hired maintenance
guy.
So, which is fine, but they're going to definitely do that. So it's like, how much he loved it. They're moving to the South Carolina. Totally.
Or they'll make it, that's the theme of the wedding.
Yeah.
A maintenance wedding.
Now, here's the thing. If you're Teresa's kids, grandkids, whatever.
Yeah. Abort mission, Mom. Don't get married on TV to this weirdo.
One thing's for sure is I'd be like, you're doing a prenup and you're doing a will that
Yeah.
Where each money stays with the kids if the other one dies. It doesn't go to the spouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
But is she going to listen to them? No.
Mm.
Oh, and then they're going to be like, we really supported our mom doing the show. And now that's going to be the documentary afterward.
Well, it reminds me of the famous, this is from 2000.
That was
Do You Want to Marry a Millionaire?
Yes.
It was
great.
the first of its kind. It was before The Bachelor. Listen up, kiddos. We're going to tell you a little juicy scoop history. There was a show. It was on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
It was a one-night thing for 2 hours where a man was behind a thing. You only heard his voice. I don't know if he got to see the girls' looks, but the girls did not get to see him. And they were lined up and they went through a series of questions until he decided, based on all the questions over a 2-hour live event, who he was going to ask to marry him. Mm-hmm. And he asked this girl who was, I believe, a nurse. She said yes. Darva, and then they meet and she does marry him.
Yeah.
But shortly after, it comes out that he's technically a millionaire, but barely. It was like he owned a house in San Diego, but there was a loan on it. So even though it might have retailed or whatever for like $850, he still owed like $750. I don't know what the story was.
Yeah.
He was not rich. He was trying to be a stand-up comic.
Right.
Just so embarrassing. And he also did a cable access show in San Diego that my husband Peter used to watch and remembered it. Remembered it from that. It was really bad. So again, someone who was always wanting to be on TV.
Yes.
Always wanted to be famous. And then there were, of course, those domestic violence things and all these stories and restraining orders. And that's where they're like, why did... So they never slept together. I think they went on the cruise.
They went on the cruise and she was totally despondent on the cruise. She was like, what have I done? I need to get out of here.
So she gets out of it. And then I want to say she did Playboy or something. She did. Yeah. She was like around for like the next 4 years, popping on like a hard copy or something.
Yes. Inside Edition.
And then I think she did finally marry somebody and like lives in Thousand Oaks.
And I think she's like a nurse. Yeah, still
a nurse.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that was a doozy of a show. Remember the women, you can see him, but he was like behind the screen and they were like, I am going to make all your dreams happen.
Yes, like he was a billionaire today.
Yeah.
Like they made it up here. If this was today, it would have been, do you want to marry a billionaire?
Yes.
And you would say, yes, I don't care what you look like because we are going to be flying on private jets and whatever. Like basically Jackie Onassis marrying Onassis. Like, I know you're an ugly little troll, but how else? But the Kennedys have cut off my security for my 2 kids and I want to buy a cashmere sweater in every color. So I'm going to marry this guy and he'll like to have Jackie O as his wife.
Did you read that book yet?
I've read many books on it. Which book are you referring to?
No, this is the new book you need to. This is your vacation book. It's called Jackie Public Private Secret. It's by J. Randy Taraborelli, and it's all about Jackie. And there are so many stories in it, and they talk about the Aristotle marriage. They only actually had sex one time.
That's what I always thought.
They only had sex one time, and she basically said to him, "I will be your, the public trophy wife," because his reputation had taken quite a big dig.
Yeah.
And you need to give me the lifestyle that I want. She was terrible with money. She spent so much money. And they only slept together one time.
I totally believe that. And you know that she snagged him from her sister.
Her sister.
Carol Radswell, mother-in-law.
Her sister was in love with him. But that wasn't the first time because her sister actually first met JFK. And then their mother said, he should really be with Jackie, not you. So that Aristotle was the second time that happened. There is so much your head will explode.
I'm so excited. And I just remember my mom who, was around that age.
Yeah.
Or a little younger, but still. And I just remember like years later when we'd get the People magazine and stuff. And it was like, her and Onassis doing something. And she was like, oh, please. She went from JFK to that old little troll. It's because he's a shipping person or whatever. And that's why. And that was like the first time I think I was introduced to like gold digging.
Well, who helped her? He had a sister, Artemis, and I think that was her name. And
Onassis did.
Yes, and she became really close friends with her, and the sister helped kind of like grease the wheels. Jackie would be really good for you. They were like working and like she was like the wing woman kind of greasing the wheels. Like, you should really be with
Like,
Jackie.
do you think JFK Jr. ever was like hanging out with his stepdad?
No.
And enjoying him on any level?
No,
he would
actually, they
only
didn't actually spend that much time with him.
I don't think they did. I think
Yeah.
all his father's figures came from the uncles of the Kennedys,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
I don't think he had any relationship.
No.
And what happened with Onassis' daughter that got everything?
Oh, she hated Jackie. She hated her, despised her. And Jackie made some sort of agreement before
what was
he
her name?
died.
Christina.
Christina.
Yeah.
And she made some sort of contractual agreement where she would get less money, and then she always kicked herself for it.
Wait,
she
who
didn't
would?
get
Wait,
as
wait,
much money as
Wait,
she thought.
Jackie would get less.
She got less money in the end.
When
because
Onassis
Christina did not like her
Okay.
and really was pushing her father, like, I just don't want this woman to get a lot of your money.
Oh.
So they were kind of like on the outs. Also, there's a great moment in the book where she was obsessed with, for a period of time, Maria Callas, who had a long affair with Aristotle. She was the very famous Greek opera singer. And one night she goes to Paris, and she like stood outside Maria's apartment building just to see like what she looked like. And she said that when she walked outside, she felt such pity. She was like, this is just so sad. Because here she's married to Aristotle.
Right.
Maria's really in love with Aristotle.
Onassis,
But he wouldn't marry her. And I think he actually pushed her to get an abortion too. It is a wild book.
Okay, well, what's the name of the book again?
It's called Jackie, Public, Private, Secret
Okay.
by J. Randy Taraborelli.
Now let's talk about a doc that is on Netflix. A lot of people are talking about it.
Oh
It's
my
called
gosh.
Mother God.
Whew.
I have seen a few of the episodes. How many episodes are there
3.
total? 3?
Yeah.
I think I'm almost at the end of the second.
Okay.
And to give a little, why don't you give the little intro about what this is and
Okay.
who this woman is?
So her name's Amy Carlson.
Okay.
And she became known as Mother God by her followers. She started this New Age movement. She actually co-founded it. She meets this man who looks like Santa Claus on meth.
Right.
And they hook up and they start making videos online. And he says to her, you really are divine. And she starts, believing it because she's also high all the time. So she gets all of these people like really fascinated by these videos that she puts out.
And this is only like
a couple years ago.
Yeah, this is like 5 years ago.
This was it during
Yeah.
like COVID times. So you
Yes.
have the nuttiest people who are just looking
Oh, you're
online
right.
all
It
the
was
time.
during, yeah.
And she starts saying that she has a connection to all these people that have passed away. Michael Jackson,
Marilyn
Monroe.
Like she was Marilyn Monroe.
She was Marilyn Monroe, but they're
Yeah.
also communicating with her because they were all members of the Intergalactic Federation of Light. So they communicated to her. And so she had a portal into the 5th dimension, and that she would eventually ascend into heaven, and that people needed to send her money to support her. And she would give people crazy advice like drinking colloidal silver. And her health began to really decline.
What is that?
Colloidal silver is like bits of silver, like that used in jewelry, floating in liquid. And they're nutty people that drink it.
Who think that
They think it's going to help your immune system. And during COVID, they thought it would help like with COVID as well.
Oh my God.
But what it does is it turns your skin like a purple gray hue and also puts you into liver failure.
Is that why that guy became like the real human Smurf or something?
Yes. He was drinking the
God.
silver.
Oh my.
And there are lots of people in Facebook groups right now as we speak who are
Purple?
writing about how they need to take colloidal silver. It's insane. So she was espousing all these weird points of view. And she also believed that she could heal other people's cancer with the power of love, hence the name Love Has Won, which is the name of this group of followers. So people would fly out and they would move into this like little compound.
And this one girl comes with like 3 or 4 kids.
Yeah. So eventually she ends up dying.
And they're all just smoking pot and drinking all day.
High
And they're
all day
like,
long.
no problem. That helps us get closer to God.
Yeah.
But what I found crazy is some of these people talking for the doc. So I assume they still believe what they're saying, right?
And
they're all like attractive,
Mhm.
and they have that weird language, almost like Scientology, where like words were just created for it, and they're explaining it with such conviction. That I'm like, I totally see why people get sucked in and believe it. Because it's like, it'll be like, Mother God is part of the escalation of interpretation of humanitarian into the skyline. And with that, she has a direct portal into the inside of what makes us tick into the interior optitodian. There's like weird words. Like I was like, oh my God. But they're saying it.
Yeah.
Like they seem lucid, alert. They're not high when they're saying it. It's literally like you're listening to a professor tell something in college. Like I was like, what? And they're pretty. And I'm like, oh my God, what are these parents
she
thinking?
Was pretty.
Yeah, no, she was pretty. And
she
that
was
I thought was crazy.
Drugs.
So she had different father gods.
Yes.
And the father gods knew that they may not be the last one. That they might be replaced. So it was like she was the first, I feel like the first, like, you know, Charlie Manson, where like, you know, or cult leaders that would, you know, most cult leaders are men. They'd have many different women.
It's
sleep
unusual
with many different,
to be a female cult leader.
and this one guy that she meets online, who's like, she's like, you're going to come and be father god. And then the previous father god is like, enjoy the pussy. Like, I don't know, just laugh.
Also because they said, like, it's all about her.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't really getting satisfied.
No, he even said, he goes, I was not attracted to her, but then, you know, I was told I'm father god and this is mother god. And so then I went for it. And then at one point, you know, I was sucked in and I like loved her. And also, but we were high every day.
Right.
But what were they living off of? Oh, the money of people.
The money, the donations.
Oh.
Okay. So then she's paralyzed from the waist down.
How did she get paralyzed?
Because she's just like going in organ failure.
Because of eating the silver?
On top of tons of other things, I'm sure. And she's been like high.
All right. And how old is she? Like early 40s?
She was only 45 when she died.
Yeah.
So she dies and they put her in a sleeping bag. They wrap her with Christmas lights. They put glitter on her face and they are moving the body place to place. And they're at a hotel. And the maintenance people start complaining about the smell.
Oh.
So now they're like, we got to get out of here. So then they go to Mount Shasta. So when the guy that was the first member, whose name's Miguel Lamboy, he gets access to all the finances, cleans out the accounts, tells the authorities they've got a dead body. They go to and they find her dead body. So at the beginning of the documentary, you can actually see the eyeballs were missing.
Why did they get rid of her
Because
eyeballs?
they were decomposing.
Oh.
Yeah. And so there were charges.
And
originally,
what about the kid that was there? They're like, we have one child here. What happened
there
there?
were two children that were there at this time where the dead body was there. So there were charges brought against them, but they were later dropped, which is very strange. And then all those members are kind of doing their own thing. The two women who were really cute, they still do videos. A bunch of them are like healers, and they still believe her. They believe that she was communicating with Robin Williams. With the Intergalactic Federation of Light. It is insane.
Yeah, it's a crazy one.
It's a big one. It's a big one.
It's a good one to watch.
Yeah.
Also, there's Bad Surgeon on Netflix. That's a 3-parter.
Yeah.
And that is a story I remember seeing on 2020 and everything. And that is about a attractive journalist who meets this high-profile surgeon who promises her the world. They fall in love, they get engaged, but they have a long distance, almost international relationship.
Right.
And they're planning on getting married. And he says, I'm the private doctor to Obama and I'm the private doctor to the Pope, and the Pope is going to marry us. And she never, which, you know, it's interesting because being Catholic, you know, he goes, no, the Pope's going to marry us. Now, being Catholic, if I was to believe that this guy was as powerful as he was, it would not occur to me to go, wait a minute, have popes ever married anybody? Are they allowed to marry somebody? And then she realizes, like, no, that's never, again, they've never married anybody and they're not allowed to marry anybody or something like that. And he just made it up.
There are a number of things about that wedding too. I think Andrea Bocelli was supposed to perform.
Yeah.
And then she's trying to organize the wedding and people aren't sending RSVPs back. I mean, to say the least. But also, he's this horrible surgeon.
What kind of a surgeon was he?
So he had done this surgery where he would replace someone's
tracheotomy.
Their trach.
Yeah.
And so he did do a couple surgeries where the people ended up passing away from it, but they had all these other pre-existing issues. But there was one person in particular where he took a donor trach and he was bathing it in stem cells. So medical journals started to pay attention and to write about it. And then he got this offer to be like a visiting professor of this, pretty acclaimed school. And like most cons, he's sort of embellishing everything and using that to get a bigger opportunity upon a bigger opportunity, which leads to him doing these surgeries where he was taking plastic trachs and baiting it with the stem cells, which there was no study that backed it up that it actually worked. And those people all started to die. So that was basically how he was revealed to be a con.
And where is he now? Do we know?
There were charges brought. I think he served for maybe 2 years, I believe.
And then she also finds out that, he had like a whole nother family.
He was married for 30 years. He wasn't even divorced, and he's planning a wedding.
Now, what do you think he gets out of he wasn't getting money from her. So what is the love con do for someone like that? Just the ego of making someone be in love with you?
I think someone like that, the stakes kept getting higher. Like he gets a high off of it.
Oh.
Like, oh, now I'm a professor. Even like he knows he's got a rinky-dink degree, that he doesn't do accurate surgeries. And now he's like married, but this woman believes that, he's the greatest guy. And he all the lies, it's like he gets a high off of it.
You know what's so interesting about all these cons?
I say that because my stepfather was a con and I believe my dad's a con. I know cons. This is what they get high on.
Yeah. And I also think like when someone who's like, the guy that said he was a Rockefeller, there's all the stories. I just think if you're in the right place and you're around the right people and you look right, and why would you question it? Why wouldn't you be like, I met this person? And I can only imagine the way he lured her in, like, of being someone that's like, oh my God, you would love Shelley. You guys would hit off. Who's Shelley? Oh, that's what I call Michelle Obama.
Right.
Would you ever, I know you're busy, but like if they want to hang out in Hawaii, would you be down or you wouldn't be down?
Yeah.
No, I would down to hang out with me. Like they like downplay it. They like drop it.
Yeah.
And then they like downplay it. And then you're just like, they're just like,
or my
buddies.
friend Oscar says he could make your dress if you're interested in that.
Who's Oscar?
Oscar de la Renta.
Oh. I mean, I was just going to go to
David's Bridal, but okay. Yeah. Sure. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell Oscar I can do it.
Don't you think that Southern California is the perfect place for a con?
Oh, definitely.
Because no one asks questions here. No, you and I ask questions.
Yeah.
I'm annoying to the point where I'm like, where did you go to school? Meanwhile, I'm Googling under the table. But a lot of people don't ask questions here.
I have been conned. And then you look back when you realize that you dealt with a grifter, whatever. And you look back at all the things. And I was like, where are all these friends that this girl says she has?
Yeah.
Why have I only met the hairdresser over 3 years? Like, where is Leonardo DiCaprio? Where is this person? Where is, Clint Eastwood's son that she's so close to when we've hung out for 3 years? And then, I'm kind of like, and then I did, eventually be like, okay, let's just like move along. And then when they know that you're on to them and they know that you're like distancing yourself, that's when they're like, boom, you're going to pay for not believing me or whatever. It's very, very interesting. But I have been conned.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect place for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Nepo baby. Here we go. Meg Ryan, snapback at anybody who called her actor son, Jack Quaid, a Nepo baby. So look, a lot of people talk about Nepo babies. It's kind of an expression that's only been around for a couple years. It's kind of cute, kind of not, I guess, if you are one. And, but I mean, so what? Like, I think these people should just embrace it.
I just think people get upset because there are people that don't acknowledge that they got a leg up.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody who has had zero connections and worked really hard, it can be annoying when you hear someone tell, their story of their success and they leave out the fact that they had a ton of leg up.
Right. If you're
that annoys people.
Right. If you're a great actor, I feel like Gwyneth Paltrow did always share that. Always talked about her dad and her mom.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a secret.
No.
But like,
just owned it.
But here's the thing, if your parents are hanging out with Martin Scorsese and all these people as you're a little kid growing up, and they're all at your house having dinner, and then you come running down the stairs, and now you're 17 and you're gorgeous and you look just like your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what is Kate up to? And they're like, well, she wants to go to NYU for acting. She just got the lead in the play. And I'm like, ugh. And then they're like, but wait a minute. I'm literally casting something
Probably
that she would be perfect for.
Yeah.
Can she act? And just like people who are, children of mechanics, they kind of have their brain is like they're naturally good at it. So I think a lot of actors that are children of actors are actually have an innate ability to act besides all the connections and also having a mother read with you.
Yeah.
Like it is just the thing, but you're right. You just have to acknowledge it
and
just
say, I was inspired as a kid sitting at the kitchen table. Like if you're Natalie Wood's daughter.
Yeah.
And you're like, we would have Christmas parties and every star you could imagine was there and I would study them.
Right.
As soon as you acknowledge that, I think people lay off you.
Yeah.
But if you're acting like, I went to New York City and I stayed in a one room, this little apartment and I used to knock on doors and it's like, okay, enough with the act.
Well, when I was at Kathy's party, we were talking and Kathy was like so funny. And she was like, she goes, Don Rickles used to say and everything. She's like, Don Rickles used to hang out.
Yeah.
Like this is old. Of course, Kathy Hilton hung out with, Don Rickles.
Yeah.
Of course she did. Okay. Anyway. And I want to talk about, so here I am. Here's my Nepo baby. Here is Brandon. My triumphant return to the runway happened yesterday at the Hyatt Regency for Crespi High School, the Aalborg Catholic High School. Last time I modeled in a fashion show, like a real fashion show, which wasn't real fun, was the Louisville one, which is the all-girl high school, when I was, not even 18. I was 17 when I did that. And it was a big deal. And so I said to him, I go, there's like 3 things I care about you doing at this high school. One is that you go on Kairos, which is the 3-day religious retreat. The next is that we do this modeling thing. And the third is at the Mother's Day Mass that you say, I want to speak about my mom after.
Oh, when did they do that?
Mother's Day.
But
when you're a senior.
When you're a senior, though. Oh,
you go to this Mass and only like a handful of boys do it. But I've gone in the previous years and I've cried and I've been like, you have got... Tell me that you'll do this. Are you going to
write the speech for him?
No, I'm absolutely not going to write the speech. He's a good writer.
He's going to do it. Okay.
He's a good writer.
I would write the speech. I would.
No. Anyway, so we modeled. The boys wore tuxes and suits, and I found a great dress.
Can I tell you, it's a little weird to see him. Like, he looks old to me.
I know, and here we are backstage.
He was like a little kid 3 minutes ago.
We had so much fun. And his cousins came.
That's sweet.
And his sister, Mackenzie, and my sister came. And then I had a couple girlfriends there. And we had a great table at the end of the runway. And they were like hyping him up. And he was really hamming it up. So, look, when he becomes a top model.
There you go.
He's going to have to say, I got my start. Because my mom's a podcaster.
Yep.
And she talked about it on Juicy Scoop.
Yeah.
And she made sure that I signed up to do the modeling.
It forever changed my life.
It forever changed my life.
Yes.
This is really fun, young moms. If you ever are at a school or you want to do something like this,
I feel like it's a Southern California thing.
I don't know. I think just one person starts it and then it's a tradition. And we have like the shopping. So like the vendors came,
That's
so
nice.
there's like shopping before. I think they make some money off of it. Who knows how much? But it is a really fun thing to do for girls too. Girls, boys, co-ed, whatever. Have a little modeling show with their parent. At least the seniors can model with their parent, the other kids, whatever. I think it's so fun. It is a lot of work for the people that put it together. I just showed up and then gave my thoughts afterwards, though I'm not volunteering to ever help. So I'm that mother you hate.
Yeah.
But I did participate.
I don't think I could have my kid. I don't think my kids would do it.
No, there were
I think my son would, but my daughters would.
No, there were other moms that were like,
please do not do that.
That were there that was like, I couldn't get my kid to do it. I go, that's totally fine. Your kid is like playing football. It doesn't matter. Like, this is something that
I'm impressed.
I said, would you do it? And he said yes. And then we like really hammed it up. And then we closed the show and we did a little bow at the end. I was like, listen, we can do what we want. We're closing the show. So that was really fun. Moving on. Okay, a little more about Housewives of Beverly Hills before we end this. How are you feeling about the season? Give me your thoughts of where we're at. What about Denise Richards?
Oh my God. What was happening? What was happening? Like that?
Well, you know. Well, listen, guys.
Do you think they drove her around a couple times around the block?
She seemed
before
high, buzzed, whatever, when she got out of the van or the car with Camille.
Because I think
she was already like, should we go to In and Out?
I feel like she was in that car a long time and then like overshot it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think they came from Malibu.
Yes.
To Encino. That's a solid hour. And I think they may have provided alcohol, maybe not. Maybe they brought it.
Yeah.
And they were like, go ahead, you know? And she's nervous.
She was probably nervous.
And when people are nervous, they drink more and you're going to be on camera and you're nervous about seeing people that you haven't seen. And so I think she was just really buzzed. I just think she had way too much Casamigos. What's the one that she... Well, no, but she likes the one that's like the
Blanco.
No, she likes the darker one. What's it called?
Anejo? I don't know.
There's... It's a show with an A. She always says that Casamigos, on the rocks. And but when it was pretty, I mean, Erica was pretty good because she's like, Erica, we're grown-ass adults. Are we going to do this? And I mean, I'm like, I cannot wait for this week of like, what the fuck happened? And then, then Kyle's there. And then they have the pot thing. And of course, Kyle, reveals to Morgan, like, well, everyone's giving me shit for not drinking, but we're having like this, TCH dinner or whatever it is. And then Morgan's wife's like, well, if you don't want to partake, why don't you just not partake? Why do you have to do it? And she's like, you think?
Do you know who?
She's all giddy.
Do you know who Leather Tuscadero was from Bam?
Yes, we've talked about this.
She looks just like her. Yeah.
From Happy Days.
She really does.
Yes. Morgan Wade is Leather Tuscadero.
Which is Susie Quattro.
On
Stumbling In, the 70s duet star.
That's right.
She looks just like her.
She kind of does.
Yeah.
And so she gets a tattoo, and a lot of people are questioning sequence of events. Now we know that on reality show, sometimes they have to redo a scene. So she comes home, apparently, from hanging with her friend, Morgan, where she's absolutely giddy. Like the memes that are like, I just want someone to look at me the way Kyle looks at Morgan. Like that's my goal. And she gets this little star thing on her pelvic area. And she comes home to Mo. And he's like, love beam, what did you do? And then she's like, and she pulls it down and shows it. And I remember thinking, wait a minute. Now, I've never had a tattoo.
Me neither.
But aren't you supposed to have the lotion and the saran wrap on it for like a day?
Bit. Yeah.
And it was dry as a bone and out there. So do I think she put on the Gucci sweater and, redid this scene for when Mo came home for dramatic effect to look like I just left my friend?
Maybe.
And now I'm annoyed with my husband who's like, well, I hope I get to see that tattoo sometime. And she's like, yeah, whatever.
Something that I think people also forget. Remember last year or a year from the time that this was filmed, remember her best friend died by suicide?
Yes, she's talking about that on social media.
That has a lot to do too with like
her annoyance with Mo not being sensitive. That's what people are saying. There's people putting this out. So it's not me. So I can't recall who did it, but I saw it online where they're like, I really think that affected her a lot. And because she says she suffers from anxiety and stuff, and this was her dear friend who died by suicide. And so she was like, people think that maybe he just wasn't as sensitive.
Think of it like someone like Liz.
Yeah.
They're the witness to your whole life.
Right.
As her best friend was.
Right.
And the loss of that is massive. And if your partner is kind of blowing, maybe he's like high and he's all about his reality show.
Yeah.
That could be the last straw. Like, you know what? Of all the things that I've done to support you, what I really need is for you to be here now. And I also think the added element of like, Morgan's in her life. She's an outsider.
Right.
All the people in Kyle's life maybe have heard all the stories about her sister and her husband. And it's kind of great when someone new has a new perspective where they're like, wait, let's go back to that. What happened with your sister? Like, you put up with
and
that?
also someone from a different generation.
Yes.
Because a different generation, like we're, you know, she and I, Kyle and I are Gen X. Morgan is technically Gen Z.
Yes.
And they really do have a different perspective on life. They're, I mean, in lots of ways, they have such a better perspective. And they're, I believe they're nicer. Like Gen X, we are the same bitchy girls that we were when the movie was written. We are exactly like, if you were that, it's very rare. You don't really mature. We're still like, look at that girl. Like, it's a little bit like that, which is why I think Housewives and everything is the way it is. And why I think it's sort of even more fascinating when someone younger starts watching it, because they're like, oh my God.
Yes.
And like, I just feel like we're just exactly the same as we, which isn't a great thing to say.
Well,
but
it's because the system that we were all raised in, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have a younger perspective, it's somebody fresh who's like, I cannot believe you went through that. You're going to be like, oh my God, I want to be around you even more.
Yeah.
Like, so I think that that's another added element that, you know, sometimes people kind of forget about too.
Yeah, it's I'm thoroughly enjoying it. What do you think of the new girl? She's coming in hot.
She's coming a little hot.
Yeah, she's a little bit.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know her name.
I like someone to just kind of ease in.
Yeah, like she's like, I gotta make my, I gotta be obnoxious and make my mark.
I don't like this new trend of like just throwing someone in and we're not learning about their personal story.
Yeah, just a friend of Kyle's.
They just show up. I'm like, wait, what?
And then Garcelle had a great moment in her interviews where she was like, the only time I think about jewelry is that Dorit still had hers after the robbery.
No, by the way, what do you think happens behind the cameras? Are people high-fiving? Does someone close the door and just high-five a wall? Or are they like, we got it?
I mean, I know people that have worked on those day-long things. You know, they don't go to their house, in case you didn't know. They go to a studio and they put the backdrop of your house. So you're all at the studio, timed, probably alone. Like, so
let's wrap this up. So I got stuff to do.
So that other people don't see you. But they can be really, really tedious, really, really long. And I think they ask you lots of questions, but I also think they help and produce you.
Yeah.
But I think this was all Garcelle.
It was good.
And, well, we'll see. What jewelry do you have left over? And what is and how is it that they didn't take your ring? If they had you walk to the closet and gather up the bags in a bed sheet or comforter and all the stuff, did you just take your diamonds and go like this?
Maybe she did. I don't know.
Maybe she did.
Yeah.
Maybe the minute they came in, she managed to go like this and just throw it on the ground or something.
Yeah.
But I would think if there was an element of that story, and I was like, I woke up and there were people in my room, you know, and they're like, get on the ground. And I managed to go like this and throw it on the ground in the dark, showed them everything else. That would be the story I would be telling on camera and be telling everybody when I'm at Extra or, you know, Access Hollywood. I would be like, so the one thing I managed to save was my wedding ring. Yeah. I was blessed and everything. And I turned it around, or I threw it on the ground, or God, it was so weird. They didn't even ask about it.
Yeah.
Or I always put it in my nightstand. They only went to the closet.
I think everyone's been afraid to ask questions because they don't want to upset her. But I think that's the great thing about some of these confessionals is that it does start to pull out questions, which can make other scenes later so full.
And, you know, providing, you know, everything Dorit has told us is 100% true. And she was really scared for her life and her children's life and everything, which is fucking horrific.
Horrible.
So if anybody was questioning my truth, now some people say, ignore these people, just like people say to me, ignore, don't give them any light. I don't know. I'd want to be like, I'd be like Garcelle, like especially at the reunion. What jewelry are you talking about specifically that you remembered me having before the before the robbery and after?
Yeah.
Which ones? And if you can't name them, then you were just being a bitch. And then she would go, it's your wedding ring. And then I could say, as Dorit, okay, I'm really glad you asked that. He just never asked. They went right to.
See, if I were Dorit, I wouldn't even go to that place. I would go.
What would you go?
For all of you that are, you know, having questions with regard to the robbery, this is what happened. You get in front of it.
Yeah.
Don't wait for someone else, a year and a half down the line to float a question like that.
But what if Garcelle said that and there isn't a specific ring or anything?
Mm-hmm.
She just saw that she had jewelry after, which could be fake, which could be stuff that was somewhere else. And, and never bothered to ask Dorit, like, wait, how did you get away with keeping your watch and your ring when they were robbed? And then she could have said, you know what? Or I put it in a drawer and we went only to the safe and to the da-da-da-da, and then they were gone. Thank God. Or I threw it to the ground when they weren't looking, or I never had it on, or whatever. It's in a different, like.
By the way, this is all fair game. If this happened to you and me, maybe we wouldn't be asking all these questions.
Right.
But it's fair game when you're on a television show. Right. And it's covered on the show. So
yes,
they have to address it at the reunion if they don't do it.
Yeah.
Before that.
This is kind of juicy. Pretty Woman. The real story of Pretty Woman.
I didn't know this, so you got to tell me.
The real script, she just revealed it because she's got a Netflix show coming out that looks really juicy, like The End of the World or something. I don't know. It looks good. Anyway, she said it was going to be a much darker film called 3000, which was the price of Vivian to spend the night with Edward. Well, that was what you got for the week. By the way, I saw someone talk about Pretty Woman saying, why will no one bring up the fact that she was getting $100 an hour, $300 for the night. And then he goes, I'll give you $3,000 for the week, which if you do the math, takes her down to $21 an hour.
Oh, my Lord.
Anyway, so this said, Vivian was a drug addict. And the movie ended with the original script with him leaving her in a side street, throwing the money at her and driving away. And I got the part in that movie and I felt really proud. But when the production company folded and the film disappeared, I was crushed. But then Disney picked it up, which seemed unlikely. And then they made it funny. And there was one producer that stayed with the script and then it went to Disney. And I went to Disney. Are they going to animate it? How's this a Disney movie? So anyway, that's where they made it lighter and cute. But it still is like, well, I would talk about it like we all watched it in the 90s. And because she got to go shopping, we all were like, it became our favorite movie. But we have to remember that she and the roommate would wake up at 8, at 9 at night and put on the boots with the zipper and have to go suck dirty dicks that they met with guys in the car, even though she was gorgeous. Like, you don't want to think about that, but that's what she was doing. And she gave him a BJ the first night at the hotel. Like, she got all prepared. She put down her pillow. Like, she did it. And I mean, she was a street hooker. The movie makes no sense at all, but it's a classic. It's a classic, and it made her the star. I love it. All right, Kate, tell them what's coming up on your show.
Okay, Reality Life with Kate Casey podcast, everywhere we listen to podcasts. Every Monday, I tell you what to watch in reality TV and docuseries and documentaries. So I'll tell you what to watch. Tuesday through Saturday, interviews with the talent, the documentary producers and directors, and reality show producers. And so this week, I'm interviewing Bettina Alexander. She is the woman who dated the bad surgeon.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So we're going to go into that. And I'm covering Murder in Boston, which is a great docuseries on HBO about a pregnant woman that was killed by her husband for insurance money. But he pretended there was an assailant and it caused race relations in Boston.
What year was that?
It was like 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay, so it's a good story.
Yeah.
You're going to like that one. I'm covering the Golden Bachelor finale, Paris in Love season 2. I've got a bunch of great interviews, and my Saturday series episode is with Carlos King. You have to come on and do a Saturday series episode where we learn more about your personal story as well.
Okay.
But also, people need to go to katecasey.substack.com because I put out that list of what to watch every week. So it's a great guide. I know that sometimes you're like, okay, what do I watch this week?
Yes, I ask you,
all the time. So
well, I follow you too, so I see what you post.
Yeah, there's great stuff this week. She posts the list
too, yeah.
I think your kids might actually like too. There's a World War II docuseries on Netflix that's coming up too. There's stuff for everybody. Some great sports ones too. Coach Prime on Amazon Prime. You might like that show too. So go to katecasey.substack.com to get my must-watch list, and then new episodes all week long.
Great. Thanks, girl.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Love
coming.
You.